you're bald. And hair was Samson's whole thing.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and these are all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in the penultimate episode of Season 2 of... Now, Invincible is notorious for its pop culture references, including references to other superhero content like the MCU, Grom here being a prime example.
All will kneel before Grom.
With his purple skin and scrotum chin, he's clearly a play on Thanos. His kneel before Crom line is also a reference to the Superman villain Zod, and his catchphrase,
Kneel before Zod.
Next, we see some fans cosplaying as Invincible outside this convention hall, and I gotta say, Mark's reaction seemed a little off. You'd think he'd be honored to have fans, but the more I thought about it, it's probably better that he had this reaction instead of,
They love me.
and it makes perfect sense why Mark feels the way he does. This entire season has been about him longing for the days when he was just Mark Grayson and not Invincible. So while he's on this date with Amber, the last thing he wants to think about are his superhero duties that have caused him to neglect being with the people that he loves. As we'll see in this episode, Mark is torn between his two lives. For so long, he wanted to have superpowers and be just like his father. But after getting those powers and suffering at the hand of his father's betrayal, he's realized that being a superhero is not all it's cracked up to be. So Mark's reaction to seeing fans cosplaying as Invincible is almost as if it's a reaction to seeing himself in the mirror, an image that haunts him because he fears becoming his father. And speaking of superhero fans like yourself, we've got tons of awesome t-shirts up right now in our merch store, ScreenCrushMerch.com, that are perfect for wearing to cons this year. We have our X-Men inspired collection, dug as various superheroes. We have Deadpool, Daredevil, Loki, Walking Dead, Star Wars, Breaking Bad, Dune, you name it, we've spoofed it. Shopping our merch store is one of the best ways to directly support our channel so that we can keep making videos like the one you're watching right now. So thank all of you so much for your support. So once they're in the convention center, I noticed immediately that no one in the background was moving, and we kept seeing the same characters over and over again, like this pirate guy. Now at first I thought there was some Professor X stuff going on with everyone being frozen, but it turns out this was on purpose. Mark meets the creator of Seance Dog, his favorite superhero who we actually got to meet in the first half of this season, kind of.
Mark Grayson, I need your help.
The creator of the show explains animation hiccups.
Sorry, animation takes a long time.
This is a clear reference to the controversy surrounding the more than 2-year gap between the first and second season, as well as the criticisms of the show's animation. Now, this series has always played with the breaking of the fourth wall with all its references to other IPs, but I'll admit, this one kind of took me a little bit out of the story more than I was comfortable with.
It's a bit much.
When Adam Eve calls Invincible, she says she's tying up a loose end. That loose end being this guy, Kill Cannon. Kill Cannon appeared in Season 1 of the original series, as well as in the Adam Eve prequel episode.
The name's Kill Cannon, not gets beat up by little girls cannon.
Rexplode is recovering well from his encounter with the Lizard League and that brutal shot to the head. Here we see him going toe-to-toe with Octobos.
Do take more than dirt at hurt Octobos.
Now, Octobos first appeared in issue 25 of Invincible back in 2005, and Rex was spot on in his comparison of Octobos and Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Here we see Rex testing out his new hand, and in the process we see him strike this classic Spider-Man motion just like Rex does in the comics. In the previous episode I talked about how Rexplode had really started to grow on me as a character, and that continued in this episode with Rex showing himself to be a true friend to Invincible.
Pick the day, and the Guardians and I will cover for you.
So this episode, and this whole season, has a lot of focus on young love. Mark and Amber, Rex and Eve, and Rudy and Monster Girl. Rudy, formerly Robot, has constructed a robotic version of Monster Girl's monster so that she no longer has to transform into the Beast. Each time she transforms, she gets younger and younger, and eventually she'll be a baby, and after that, I don't know.
Death!
Rudy is in love with Monster Girl, and what's interesting is how they're both adults in children's bodies, so they are kind of an ideal couple. Catching up with Immortal, we see that he is still broken following Kate's death, and he even acknowledged that he wasn't himself prior to her death when he mentioned his lack of trust in Invincible when fighting the Sequids. Immortal wishes to retire just like in the comics, and he tells Cecil that he's going home. Now, we know that in the comics Immortal was born on Earth, and I assume the same is true for the show, so I'm kind of curious to see exactly where he's going and where it is that he calls home. Cecil says,
"Your old job just opened back up."
A reference to how he used to have the role of team leader when he was on the teen team.
It is my pleasure to introduce the new Guardians of the Globe.
In the previous episode, we caught back up with Rick Sheridan, a victim of D.A. Sinclair. We see that Rick is having nightmares about his death, similar to the nightmares that Donald was having.
Sir? Are you alright, sir?
As we mentioned earlier in the season, Donald was resurrected from his death in Season 1 with cybernetic technology. But in this episode, we learned that it wasn't even the first time. This reveal that Donald has died many times before shows he's just as much a hero as any superhero. He has put his life on the line countless times to help others, resulting in a mere 2% of him still being human. But this also shows us that despite losing most of his biological body, he's still the hero that he's always been. And that message of still being his true self becomes very important later in the episode in his interaction with Rick. This also creates an interesting parallel between Donald and Immortal, with both coping with immortality. Here, Mark mentions Doc Seismic.
Doc Seismic isn't gonna kick me out of school.
Seismic being a recurring villain in the series, first appearing in episode 3 of season 1 in his attack on Mount Rushmore, and then again on his attack on Washington Monument this season. And then we get the return of everyone's favorite dad, Reginald VelJohnson.
Guess who's back again.
Reginald VelJohnson is mostly known for his role in Die Hard and, of course, on Family Matters. His name in this series is also Winslow, a reference to Family Matters that has led to some question if these two series actually share the same universe. Not only did VelJohnson voice Mark's high school principal, Mr. Winslow, but the school was named after VelJohnson. Now, like I said a second ago, VelJohnson is one of America's favorite TV dads. Progressive even has these commercials playing up on that fact.
Maybe try switching your car insurance to Progressive. You could save hundreds.
It's a great idea, TV Dad.
So I thought it was a nice touch that it was VelJohnson as Mr. Winslow who was brought in to give Mark the fatherly advice that he desperately needed.
You need to make a choice, Mark.
Here, April says,
"He picks up things quicker than any child I've ever worked with."
A reference to Oliver's Thraxan descent and his quick aging. And here we see Mark and his mom sitting on the steps having a heart-to-heart, just like in season 1 when Mark was becoming a superhero. When Rick is standing on the rooftop contemplating taking his own life, we can see in the distance the same water fountain he and Invincible fought at when Rick was under Sinclair's control. And then arrives Anissa. Anissa first appeared in issue 44 of the comics and plays a crucial role in the Viltrumite War. She's arrived on Earth to warn Mark that he must fulfill his duty of conquering Earth for the Viltrum Empire.
Yet here you are, hands and fists worried about stopping me instead of stopping them.
In the mid-season finale of this season, General Krieg told Mark,
"You will assume his mission and prepare the planet for our rule."
And now they're once again giving Mark a warning, implying that they must truly feel the need for Mark to make their takeover of Earth work. This is again echoed when Anissa refused to kill Mark. Earlier in the season, we learned that in most universes, Mark joins his father and takes Earth for the Viltrumites. And after Anissa's pitch for all they could do for Earth, it becomes a little understandable as to why that's the case.
The powerful of this world destroy their own home, strip resources for themselves. Large areas of this planet will soon be uninhabitable due to human greed.
But Mark stays true to his belief in free will and not adopting the cruel and tyrannical nature of the Viltrumites.
At least I don't kill.
When Anissa blasts through the kaiju, we see the blood of the beast flick right off her costume by the sheer force of her blast, just like when Nolan left Earth in the season 1 finale. Earlier this season, we saw the sheer power of the Viltrumites in their battle with Allen the Alien, and then with Mark and Nolan on Thraxa. But Anissa took things to a whole new level. She was toying with Mark and could have killed him easily. This reminds us of just how powerful they are. And when Cecil said he was sending the Guardians to help, I got really nervous. My first thought was, don't do that, she's going to literally kill them all. When Anissa has Mark down on the ground, I loved how Mark echoed Mr. Winslow's advice.
Either you need me, or you don't. Make up your mind.
And it was poetic how, in this moment, Mark also made his choice about the path that he was going to take.
Well, isn't that poetic?
It was Anissa's threatening of Amber that was the final nail in her and Mark's relationship.
My life matters too, and it doesn't matter when I'm with you. Worse than that, it's a weapon someone can use against you like that woman did.
Without realizing it, Mark's refusal to agree to Anissa's demands was him making his choice, the choice of the path in life that he was going to take. Mark's principled stance to not agree to her terms, even if it was a lie, as Cecil suggested.
Mark, listen to me. Say you'll do it. Say fine. I'll take over the planet.
This refusal symbolizes Mark's determination to not become his father.
No.
He thought that in order to not be his father, he needed to not let go of Amber and to be a better boyfriend, when the truth was that the most heroic thing he could do was to let her go. Not only was it the best thing for her in terms of her own safety and having her own life, but it was also a heroic decision that he needed to make in order to keep Earth safe and not betray humanity the way his father did. In the previous episode, we got the return of Angstrom Levy, who now has Debbie and Oliver held hostage.
When are you coming home?
This season kicked things off with Angstrom's villain origins, but he's been lurking in the shadows for the remainder of the season. But it looks like we're finally going to get to see him and Invincible have it out for the season finale. Back in space, we see Anissa confront Allen the Alien. The last time Allen encountered a Viltrumite, he got TKO'd. But following Thaddeus' risky move taking Allen off life support, Allen is much stronger. When Anissa attacks him, she doesn't even draw blood. But when Allen returns a punch, he draws Viltrumite blood, not an easy feat. Allen has truly evolved to a power beyond that of a Viltrumite. When Anissa punches Allen, we see him fake being knocked out so that he can be taken to the Viltrumite prison. Or why would he want to go there? Is it good food? Well, remember in the previous episode, we heard Mark tell Allen about Nolan being taken by the Viltrumites in the mid-season finale.
They took him away. Said they're gonna execute him, if they haven't already.
Allen was sent on a mission by Thaddeus to bring Mark back with him to the Coalition of Planets. And while Mark told Allen that he couldn't go with him, he did give Allen Nolan's book detailing real things in the galaxy that could defeat Viltrumites. It would appear that Allen's plan is to be taken to a Viltrumite prison and free Nolan and bring him to Thaddeus in place of Invincible so that they may begin their takedown of the Viltrumite Empire. So guys, those are all the Easter eggs that we caught in the penultimate episode of Invincible Season 2. Big shout out to Colton Ogburn, the writer of this video. You can find his social links down below. Let us know what you thought of the episode down in the comments or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, welcome. Please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Erie.